The Hamilton Ticats lose 26-23 on the evening when the team, Angelo Mosca, by retiring his number. Great job, pal. Up there on stage in front of 25,000 people is different than running for.
I thought Angelo was the guy that did this stuff tonight. It was his night, and he really rose to the occasion tonight. Unfortunately, his
thank
whole
you.
team did not.
Yeah, thank you for the segue. The Ticats fall 26-23 and did not look sharp right from the get-go.
Right from the get-go, and you could see on the very first penalty that the Ticats took to right about just almost where we're standing here, which was a push-off offensively, and it brought everything back, and they don't make the next play, and you just thought, this doesn't feel right. We've seen them have little troughs in the games before, but it felt something a little different. Part of it was the comparison to Montreal. They were fired up. There's no doubt about it, especially on the front seven and the front four. Their front four played extraordinarily well tonight.
Well, let's talk about that dominance. 6 sacks for the Alouettes. That was certainly a big difference in the game. They also had an advantage in turnovers. Ticats suffered some injuries up front. Ryan Bauman left the game, and after that, it seemed like the front seven really had their way with Hamilton.
I thought the way, and you've pointed it out in print before, the way the offensive line has been playing, everything seemed to be coming well. Everybody seemed to be in the right position. You take a guy out of that, then all of a sudden everybody has to move up a step, or at least two guys have to move up a step, and that really showed. I thought they were in trouble a little bit before that, and I think part of it was, I know part of it was they were second and long so many times, and Collaros actually made a couple of great plays on second and long, but you can't do that all the time. And Montreal did a lot of stunting on those second and long, trying to fake to the one side, which is the Ticats right, and then looping to the left. They call that a twist. And boy, it worked a ton tonight, because even with the 6 sacks, there was another 4 or 5 pressures as well.
This game also had its fair share of nastiness as well. There were at least 2 or 3 occasions where there was some pushing and shoving and little fisticuffs after the play. These teams don't like each other and haven't for a while.
And I think it was you that elicited that comment from Collaros. We don't like them, they don't like us, and it's because they play that kind of physical thing. And Simone Lawrence was making a point to me after the game. We'll be writing about this at another time, I suppose. But he said that what's happened is that the defense has played so well, and it's not that they're just playing well; it's they're getting the ink. No other defense is really being talked about right now, and that is kind of elevating the emotional level of other defenses. And he said that guys were coming over after they made a play and talking to them. It happened last game in Montreal as well. Came to the sidelines, and maybe Hamilton didn't handle that as well as they could have. I thought they were just a bunch of things they handled just a little less well than they did, and you add them all up and you got a whole bunch of things. The penalties and the timing of the penalties were crucial.
Yeah, the numbers aren't actually that bad. No. The penalty numbers are not that bad, but the timing of them was horrible.
The timing of them was brutal. The 2 pass interference one, this one stalled a drive that you just had the feeling that maybe if they score on this one, it's like everything else. Now they're getting 20. You don't know, but you know that's the way they start getting 21 points. Then the next series, they get called themselves. Thought it was a little cheap because it was inside and the ball was 40 miles out of bounds. But still, it was a call, and it was a penalty, and that led to a touchdown. Potentially that's a 14-point swing. Potentially.
The Ticats now 6-3. The Alouettes 4-5. And the funny thing is, despite this great start by the Ticats, they've now lost the season series to the Alouettes, and they face the Argonauts back-to-back starting on Labor Day. And despite this great start, they're not in tough, but these are now really important games.
There's a whole weirdness to that, because what you're saying by that is they've made their hay against the West. And how often does that happen in our lifetime? Yeah. Certainly in our adult lifetimes. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, suddenly it becomes, I like it. I think, absolutely. We're looking at some tests of things here. Ticats had a test tonight, some adversity, and they failed. I mean, they didn't fail by much, but they failed. Because in the end, it's still 0 points in the standings. And I'm looking forward to these 2 games, especially in such a short time. The only thing I wish about that is that there were going to be some people in the second game in the Rogers Center. Maybe they'll come from here, because it is a Friday night.
I want to finish this talking a little bit about Angelo Mosca. Yeah. I thought the ceremony was perfect. It was short. It was sweet. He was on point. I thought the part that made it a little dusty for me was when he walked off the stage and saw his wife by the sidelines.
And his daughter, Jolene, and he couldn't help himself. And there were a lot of people that you couldn't see. I was on the field. There were a lot of people crying. I wasn't, but boy, I was kind of breaking up inside. I've become close to him over time. I haven't known him as long as people assume we have, at least not known him well. It's probably only a decade, but we've certainly become close the last 5 years. I think I understand him. I know where he's coming from, I think, and I think he feels the same about me. I cannot be objective about him anymore. I'm glad he's not playing, because I honestly couldn't write about him, because I feel for him. the Ticats do things classily. And they do stuff like this like the Montreal Canadiens do. Canadians are way above everybody else in hockey. They make the Leafs look ridiculous. And I think the Ticats make most other organizations look ridiculous. When they choose to do a thing like that, a big thing, they do it really, really well.
Reporting from Tim Hortons Field with Steve Milton, I'm Drew Edwards.